costume, not a career. Chelsea set it beside our mother's grill on the 4th of July. Smoke from the salmon kept blowing across the patio. Dale stood near the cooler with one hand around a beer. Mom was carrying potato salad through the sliding door. I had just told them I'd be busy later that month. "What kind of busy?" Mom asked. "A command event at the base." She looked pleased. "Should I come?" "If you'd like to." Chelsea gave a little laugh. She was holding note cards for Harper Maritime's anniversary gala. She'd been practicing her speech all afternoon. "Rose, don't rearrange your week," she said. "It's another Army thing." Mom stopped beside the table. "I can decide for myself," she said. "I'm saving you the trouble." Chelsea glanced at me, then tapped her card straight against her palm. "We all know what this is. A costume, not a career." Dale looked down at his beer. Mom set the bowl harder than she meant to. The spoon jumped. I watched Chelsea wait for me to react. That was the part she enjoyed, not the insult itself. She liked the few seconds afterward when everyone looked at me to see if she'd finally gone too far. I picked up the spoon and put it back. "What time do you want dinner?" I asked Mom. Chelsea shook her head. "You always do that." "Do what?" "Pretend you're above the conversation." I asked what time we're eating. "I heard you." She stepped closer. Her sandals made soft scraping sounds on the patio. "You know, some of us built something real," she said. "We didn't spend 30 years moving every few years and coming home for holidays like a guest." I looked at her note cards. The top one read, "Our family legacy." "You should practice that line," I said. Her mouth tightened. "What line?" "The one about family." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Dale opened the cooler. Mom peeled foil from a tray of corn. A plane passed low over the water. We were near Point Woronzof, so that happened all the time. The sound filled the yard and gave everybody a reason not to speak. Chelsea turned away first. At that moment, she believed she was 3 weeks from standing inside our family company and announcing she controlled all of it. She believed my life had nothing to do with hers unless she needed something to mock. I knew something she didn't, but I hadn't always known it. For most of my life, I thought Chelsea's contempt was just the price of being her older sister. It started long before that July afternoon. My father, Eugene Harper, judged people by work. Not job titles, not clothes, not money. He watched what a person carried when nobody was clapping. He'd been drafted into the Army in 1962. He spent 2 years working logistics stateside, then returned to Anchorage. He never told stories that made his service sound larger than it was. "I kept forms moving," he once told me. "Mostly, I learned what happens when they don't." He joined his father's fish shipping operation near Ship Creek. Back then, it was a few cold rooms, 2 trucks, and a dock that leaned enough to make visitors nervous. In 1966, it became Harper Maritime Company. By the time I was old enough to work summers, the dock stood straight. The company had a cannery hall, refrigerated storage, and contracts with fishing crews from all over South Central Alaska. Dad still wore the same brown work coat. He kept pencils in the chest pocket and salted peanuts in the truck. Chelsea liked the business side from the beginning. She enjoyed purchase orders, vendor calls, and knowing what every boat had brought in before lunch. She could look at a delivery sheet and spot an incorrect weight immediately. I respected that about her. She understood the company in ways I never did. I preferred clear expectations and work that reached beyond our family name. In 1992, I enrolled at the University of Alaska Anchorage and joined Army ROTC. Dad asked one question, "Are you serious?" "Yes." "Then show up early." Mom worried quietly. She worried about cold weather exercises, injuries, and whether I was eating. She mailed things even when I still lived in Anchorage. Chelsea treated the whole subject like a phase. She'd hold up my field gear and ask, "Do they let you keep this stuff?" Then she'd put on my cap and salute the refrigerator. At first, I laughed with her. I thought that was all she wanted. When I received my commission in 1996, Dad and Mom came to the ceremony. Chelsea came too. She wore a blue dress and complained about the folding chairs. Afterward, Dad hugged me once. He wasn't a long hugger. You finished what you started, he said. I'm starting it now. He nodded. Better answer. Chelsea heard him. Her smile changed for a second. I noticed it, but I didn't understand it. The first open insult came the next year. We were having dinner at Mom and Dad's house. Chelsea was 18 and had started helping more at Harper Maritime. Dad had spent half the meal asking about her ideas for organizing the shipping office. She had good ideas. I told her so. Then Mom asked me how work was going. Before I could answer, Chelsea said, "She's still playing soldier." Dad put down his fork. "What did you say?" Chelsea smiled as if he'd missed a joke. "I said she's playing soldier." I heard the words. The table went quiet. Chelsea pushed peas around her plate. "It's not an insult. She knows what I mean." "No," I said. "I don't." She looked at me. "You went to college. You dress up. People tell you where to stand. It's not like you're building anything." Dad's chair creaked when he leaned back. "What do you think work is?" he asked. "I know what work is. Then don't cheapen somebody else's." Chelsea's face turned red. "I didn't." "You did." Mom tried to move the bowl of potatoes between them. "Let's eat before everything gets cold." Chelsea looked at Dad, not me. "You always take her seriously." That sentence stayed with me. I'd thought she was making fun of the Army. She wasn't. She was keeping score with our father. I should have understood then, but I didn't. I was busy, and our lives separated quickly. Chelsea stayed in Anchorage. She married Dale Vaughn in 2001. Dale spoke in forecasts and percentages. He always had an idea for making Harper Maritime bigger. I moved when the Army moved me. I came home when I could. Sometimes that meant Christmas. Sometimes it meant 10 days in March, when the sidewalks were gray and nobody had planned anything special. I went to Iraq in 2003 and returned in 2004. I didn't talk much about it. Dad didn't ask for stories. He picked me up from the airport, took my bag, and drove to a diner on Northern Lights Boulevard. He ordered coffee and meatloaf. I ordered eggs because my body had no idea what time it was. Halfway through breakfast, he said, "You all right?" "I'm tired." That wasn't the question. I tore open a packet of jam. "I'm all right enough." He nodded and stirred his coffee. That was the whole conversation. A few weeks later, I was helping him at the dock. One of the old freezer doors kept sticking. Dad insisted we could fix it ourselves. We couldn't. After an hour, I was sitting on an overturned bucket while he argued with a bent hinge. "You know," he said, "your sister thinks I'm giving you something she earned." "What did you give me?" "That's what I asked her." I wiped grease from my fingers. What was her answer? Respect. I looked toward the office windows. Chelsea was inside with Dale, working through invoices. She has your respect. She has my confidence at work. That's probably what she means. Dad shook his head. "No, Chelsea knows the difference." He put the wrench down. "She thinks respect is a pie. If you get a piece, hers got smaller. What do you want me to do?" "Nothing." "Then why tell me?" He looked at me carefully. "So you don't mistake cruelty for confusion." That sounded harsh then. Years later, it sounded precise. In 2005, Dad asked me to meet him at Benjamin Munos's law office downtown. Benjamin had handled company matters for years. His office smelled like coffee and old carpet. The waiting room had framed photographs of Anchorage before the high-rises. When I arrived, Dad was leaving. He had a thick envelope under his arm. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "Paperwork." "You asked me to come. I wanted lunch." Benjamin stood in his doorway behind him. "Good to see you, Vanessa," he said. "You too." I pointed at the envelope. "Should I be worried?" Dad tucked it inside his coat. "No." "Company trouble?" "No." "Health trouble?" He gave me an annoyed look. "I'm hungry." "That's the trouble." We went to a sandwich shop on 4th Avenue. Dad ordered soup, then complained that the bowl was too small. I asked about the envelope again. He tore a piece of bread in half. "I'm arranging things." "What things?" "Things I won't be around to arrange later." I stopped eating. Dad noticed. "I'm not dying." "You can't say that after meeting an estate attorney." "I can if it's true. So this is estate planning. This is me preventing unnecessary foolishness." "From whom?" He smiled without showing teeth. That's why Benjamin gets paid. I didn't push. That was normal in our family. Dad offered information in measured amounts. If you demanded more, he closed the door. Before we left, he asked me something strange. What does responsibility look like to you? I thought he was testing me. Doing the work you agreed to do. That's part of it. Taking the consequences when you don't. He nodded. An authority? Authority over what? Anything. I folded my napkin. It should follow responsibility. Dad sat back. That's the answer. To what? He signaled for the check. I didn't know it then, but he had just finished signing papers that would outlive him. He never mentioned them to me again. I deployed to Afghanistan in 2009. I returned in 2010, then went back in 2011 and returned in 2012. When people at home asked what it was like, I usually said, dusty. Most of them accepted that. Chelsea took my silence as proof that nothing serious had happened. At Thanksgiving in 2012, Dale asked if I'd ever been afraid. Chelsea answered for me. She works in offices, Dale. I set down my water. You don't know where I worked. I know you. That's not the same thing. She laughed. You're so dramatic. Dad looked up from carving the turkey. Chelsea. What? She's sitting right there. She's fine. I watched the knife in Dad's hand. He placed it flat on the cutting board. Being home doesn't tell you what it took to get home. Chelsea rolled her eyes. Mom whispered, please. I could have corrected my sister. I could have listed places, dates, duties, and names she'd never heard. I didn't. Anything I said would have become another performance in her mind. She'd already decided my work was pretend. Facts would only give her more material. So, I passed the gravy. In 2014, Chelsea became Vice President of Operations at Harper Maritime. Dad held a small gathering in the cannery hall. The floor had been scrubbed, but the room still smelled faintly of fish and bleach. Chelsea wore a dark green suit. She gave a good speech. She thanked the crews, office staff, drivers, and our parents. She spoke about modernizing the company without losing its character. I meant it when I told her, you earned this. She looked at my uniform. So did you have to wear that? I came from work. It's my event, I know. You could have changed. Dad walked up before I answered. You both look fine, he said. Chelsea smiled for him. Later, I found her near the loading doors. You gave a strong speech, I said. You already told me. I wanted to tell you again. She crossed her arms. Dad spent the whole time introducing you. He introduced me twice. To important people. They asked. This was supposed to be about the company. It was. She looked toward Dad. He was laughing with two boat owners. You can disappear for years, she said, then walk into a room dressed like that, and everybody acts impressed. I didn't ask them to. You never have to ask. I wanted to tell her the uniform didn't work that way. Not where I spent my days. There, it meant expectations. It meant arriving prepared. It meant being accountable for choices that affected other people. Instead, I said, this isn't a competition. Chelsea's expression went flat. Easy for you to say. In 2018, I called her after another promotion. Mom had already told her. Chelsea answered on the fourth ring. What? She said. I wanted you to hear it from me. I heard. Okay. Mom's acting like you cured something. She's excited. It's a hobby promotion, Vanessa. I sat on the edge of my bed. A what? You keep collecting titles. It doesn't change anything here. I didn't say it changed anything there. Good. Chelsea, why are you angry? I'm not angry. You sound angry. I'm busy. Some of us have actual payroll to make. Then she hung up. I stared at the phone until the screen went dark. Dad called 5 minutes later. She tell you? He asked. Mom did. She tell everyone? Probably. He was quiet. Then he said, good work. Thank you. You coming home in August? If the schedule holds. Your mother wants to paint the kitchen. That sounds dangerous. She picked yellow. I'll come early. He laughed. That was the last period when our family still felt repairable. Dad's health declined slowly, then all at once. By 2021, he couldn't make it down to the docks. Chelsea brought company folders to the house. Dale joined every meeting. I came home whenever I could. One evening, Dad asked me to help him onto the back deck. It was cold, but he wanted to see the inlet. I wrapped a blanket around his shoulders. He watched a cargo plane climb over the water. "Chelsea knows the business," he said. "She does. Dale knows debt. That sounds useful." "It can be." He coughed into a handkerchief. "Useful things can still cut you." I looked at him. "Is something wrong at the company?" "Not yet. Do you want me to talk to her?" "No." "Then tell me what you do want." He rubbed his thumb along the blanket's edge. "I want you to remember that silence isn't surrender." I waited for more. He closed his eyes. After a minute, he said, "Take me inside." Dad died that autumn at 79. At the funeral reception, the cannery hall filled with relatives, employees, fishermen, and people I hadn't seen in years. Mom sat near the front with both hands around a paper cup. Chelsea moved through the room like she was hosting a company event. Maybe that was how she survived it. Near the coffee table, I heard a cousin ask why I hadn't joined Harper Maritime. Chelsea answered before I could. "Vanessa wears a costume for a living." Several people looked at me. Nobody argued. Chelsea lifted her cup and added, "I'm the one who stayed." That was the day I understood she hadn't been teasing me all those years. She was building a case. Dad was gone. Chelsea had become company president. She believed staying in Anchorage entitled her to everything he'd left. And standing in that cold hall with my father's photograph behind her, I began to wonder what she planned to do if the facts ever disagreed. The morning after the reception, I drove back to the cannery hall to help clean. Most of the chairs had already been stacked. The flowers from the funeral sat in buckets near the loading doors. Someone had left 3 trays of untouched cookies beside the coffee machine. Chelsea was in Dad's office. I could see her through the glass. She had opened every drawer and placed his files into cardboard boxes. Dale stood beside the desk, reading labels aloud. Tax. Chelsea pointed. Keep. Vendors before 2015. Storage. Personal. Put it in the car. I knocked on the open door. Chelsea looked up. "What?" "I came to help. We're almost done." There were 7 boxes on the floor. "You did all this morning?" We started early. I stepped inside. Dad's brown work coat was missing from the hook. So was the framed photograph of him and his father beside the first company truck. Where are his personal things? Mom's house. Already? I took them over. Dale closed a file drawer. "Chelsea's trying to get the office usable," he said. It was usable. He gave me the patient smile he used when he thought someone didn't understand business. "It's the president's office now." Chelsea watched my face. I looked at Dad's desk. The scratches were still there. One corner had a dark ring from years of coffee cups. "Did Benjamin say you could remove the files?" "They're company files. He had personal papers in here, too. I separated them." "You did?" "Yes, Vanessa. I can recognize a birthday card." I opened one of the boxes. Chelsea put her hand on the lid. "Don't." I looked at her hand. She removed it. "What's in this one?" I asked. "Old contracts." "Then why can't I look?" "Because I'm organizing." "You're throwing things into boxes." Dale moved between us without making it obvious. "This has been a hard week," he said. "Maybe everybody should take a breath." I ignored him. "Did Mom ask you to move Dad's things?" Chelsea's jaw shifted. "Mom doesn't need to deal with this. That wasn't my question." "She agreed I should handle the office." "When?" "Last night." Mom had barely spoken the night before. I'd driven her home, taken off her shoes, and placed a glass of water beside her bed. Chelsea had stayed at the reception with Dale. I didn't accuse her of lying. I closed the box. "Don't throw anything away." "I'm not. I mean it." "So do I." I walked out and spent the next hour folding tablecloths. While I worked, I listened to boxes being carried through the side door. That was the first time I made a deliberate choice about Chelsea. I stopped assuming she would tell me the truth simply because we were sisters. 2 weeks later, the family met at Benjamin's office. Mom sat beside me. She wore the same black wool coat she'd worn to the funeral. Chelsea and Dale took the chairs across from us. Benjamin had 5 folders arranged on his conference table. He spoke slowly. He explained that Dad's personal property passed to Mom. The house remained hers. His minority company shares were distributed according to the existing ownership documents. Then Benjamin reached the family trust. The controlling shares of Harper Maritime remain inside the trust, he said. Those shares don't pass through the estate. Chelsea opened her folder. But I'm president. You are. So I control the company. You control daily operations. Dale leaned forward. What's the practical distinction? Benjamin folded his hands. The president runs the business. The trustee votes the controlling shares according to the trust deed. And you're the trustee, I said. Yes. Chelsea flipped through several pages. For how long? Until the deed directs otherwise. She stopped turning pages. What does that mean? It means I administer the shares under the terms Eugene established. Can you remove me? Not without cause and proper procedure. What cause? Chelsea, Mom said quietly. I'm asking. Benjamin looked at her. Fraud, serious misconduct, incapacity, actions that threaten the trust assets, the usual grounds. I haven't done any of that. Nobody said you had. Dale placed 2 fingers on Chelsea's folder. This is standard language. Much of it is, Benjamin said. Chelsea relaxed. She skimmed another page, then closed the folder. So the company stays with the family. The company is already with the family. And eventually the shares split between Vanessa and me. Benjamin paused. Distribution depends on the deed. Chelsea opened the folder again. Where? The succession provisions are farther back. She turned several pages at once. The document was thick. Dad had included restrictions on selling company property, transferring shares outside the family, and borrowing against the stock held in trust. Chelsea read for less than a minute. Then she closed it again. This is what Dad wanted, she said. Me running the company. Benjamin adjusted his glasses. He appointed you president before he died. Exactly. That isn't the same as owning the controlling shares. It is in practice. No, Benjamin said. It isn't. Dale looked at the clock on the wall. We have another appointment. Benjamin slid a receipt form toward Chelsea. You should take time to read the deed. I understand it. You've had the folder for 6 minutes. Chelsea signed the receipt. I grew up in that company. Benjamin looked at the signature, then placed the form in his file. That's not the same as reading. Outside, Chelsea walked ahead of us toward the parking lot. Mom touched my sleeve. Do you understand all that? Not all of it. Should I? You should know what you own. She glanced at Chelsea. I don't want another argument. Knowing isn't arguing. Dale opened the passenger door for Chelsea. Before she got in, she called back to us. Don't let Benjamin make this complicated. Dad wanted continuity. I held up my folder. Then the paperwork should say that. It does. Did you read it? Her eyes narrowed. I don't need homework from you. She got into the car. I watched Dale drive them away. Mom sighed. Your father could have made this easier. Maybe he thought he did. I still didn't read every page of the trust. I wish I could say I went home, made coffee, and studied every sentence. I didn't. I had work waiting. Mom needed help changing accounts into her name. Dad's belongings still filled half her dining room. Grief turned simple errands into day-long projects. I placed my copy in a lockable file drawer at home. Then I called Harper Maritime's office. The receptionist answered. This is Vanessa Harper. I need to confirm my mailing address for shareholder notices. She hesitated. Chelsea handles family correspondence. I'd like mine sent directly. I can ask her. You don't need to ask. I'm giving you my address. There was a pause. All right. And email copies, please. I heard typing. Anything else? Yes. Please add me to the distribution list for board meeting notices and financial statements. Another pause. I'll have to check. That's fine. Let me know who says no. She called back an hour later. You've been added. That was all I did at first. I didn't challenge Chelsea's presidency. I didn't demand access to her office. I didn't tell Mom I suspected anything. I started receiving the same paper everyone else was supposed to receive. The envelopes came every few months. Most contained routine reports, fuel costs, repairs, staffing changes, refrigeration upgrades. I read them, marked the dates, and filed them. In the fall of 2022, we gathered at Mom's house for the first anniversary of Dad's death. She didn't call it a memorial. She cooked his favorite stew and set his old coffee mug beside the stove. The mug stayed empty. Chelsea brought flowers. Dale brought a leather binder. We ate at the dining room table. Rain moved against the windows, and every few minutes the wind pushed water under the porch door. After dinner, Dale placed the binder beside his plate. I've been looking at the North Dock, he said. Chelsea gave him a quick look. Tonight? It's a family discussion. Mom began stacking bowls. What about the North Dock? Dale opened the binder. The structure is underused. We could expand cold storage and add another loading lane. Dad had discussed cold storage before. He always stopped at the cost. How much? I asked. We don't have a final estimate. Then what are we discussing? The opportunity. Chelsea reached for the binder. We can get into details later. Dale kept one hand on it. Vanessa asked. He turned several pages toward me. There were drawings of a larger warehouse and a covered loading area. We increase capacity by almost half, he said. It gives us room for larger contracts. Where does the money come from? Financing? What kind? A commercial expansion package. Secured by what? Chelsea sat back. Here we go. I looked at her. What? You hear one business term and start an interrogation. I asked what secures the loan. The company secures it, Dale said. That could mean several things. He smiled. It would be based on the waterfront assets. Mom stopped carrying dishes. The docks? Not only the docks, Chelsea said. The buildings, equipment, long-term contracts. It's a package. Dad never borrowed against the waterfront, Mom said. Dad also ran trucks built before I was born, Chelsea replied. We can't preserve every choice he made. Mom set the bowls down. He said the land mattered. The land still matters. Then why would you put it up for a loan? Dale closed the binder halfway. Nobody is putting anything up tonight. We're talking about options. I watched Chelsea. Have you talked to a bank? We've had conversations. What bank? This isn't a board meeting, she said. You called it a family discussion, which means I don't need you cross-examining my husband. Dale rubbed his thumb along the binder's edge. She has a right to ask. Chelsea turned on him. Don't do that. Do what? Act like I'm hiding something. Nobody had used the word hiding. I noticed that. Mom picked up Dad's mug and held it against her chest. How much debt does the company have now? Dale answered. Nothing significant. That isn't a number, I said. Chelsea laughed once. You haven't worked one day at Harper Maritime since college. That doesn't change the question. You don't understand the margins. Then explain them. I'm not giving a finance lesson after dinner. Fine. Put it in the next board packet. Chelsea stared at me. You think wearing a uniform makes you qualified for every room? No. You certainly act like it. I'm in this room because Dad put me in it. Her face changed. Only slightly. That was the first small confirmation. The project wasn't just an idea to her. My right to ask about it was the problem. Dale slid the binder away from me. We'll prepare something formal. When? I asked. When the numbers are ready. Before you sign anything? Chelsea pushed her chair back. Nothing is being signed. Then that should be easy to promise. She stood. I don't need your permission to run the company. No, but you might need the board's permission to use its property. Mom whispered my name. I stopped. Chelsea gathered her purse. This is exactly why Dad kept you away from operations. I looked at her. Dad never kept me away. You left. I served. You left, she repeated. Dale stood beside her. We should go. Mom walked them to the door. Chelsea kissed her cheek, then left without looking at me. After the car pulled away, Mom returned to the table. You could have waited. For what? A better time. He brought a loan proposal to Dad's memorial dinner. It wasn't a proposal. He had drawings. Mom sat down. Your sister has kept that company going. I know, she's under pressure. That doesn't make the docs hers. Mom rubbed both hands over her face. I can't lose one of you after losing your father. You're not losing me. You two can barely share dinner. I began clearing the table. Mom watched me carry the dishes. Do you think she'd risk the company? I don't know. That was the truth. The next morning I called Rodney Bell. I knew him from company gatherings, but we'd never spoken privately. He'd been Harper Maritime's outside accountant for years. He answered from his office. Vanessa, is everything all right? I need to ask you a general question. That usually means the answer won't be general. Who has to approve a loan secured by company property? He was silent for a moment. That depends on the size, the asset, and the governing documents. Would the full board be told? For material borrowing, yes. Before it happened, and that would be normal. Is there a loan now? I can't discuss unfinished company business without knowing what you're referring to. Dale showed us an expansion plan last night. Rodney exhaled slowly. I've seen preliminary estimates. Have you seen loan papers? I've seen no finalized debt placed on the books. That was careful language. Has a bank valued the waterfront property? You'd need to ask Chelsea. I'm asking you, and I'm telling you what I can tell you. I looked at the notes I'd written during the conversation. Would a property valuation appear in the annual records? If the company paid for it, there should be an invoice. And if the bank paid, it may appear in the financing file, which shareholders can review. Not automatically. Board members can request relevant materials. I'm a board member, I know. Then I'm requesting notice of any formal vote involving the waterfront. Rodney was quiet again. Put that in writing. I will. And Vanessa? Yes? Be specific. People answer broad questions broadly. I wrote the sentence down. That afternoon, I emailed Chelsea, Dale, Rodney, and the company office. I requested advance notice and supporting documents for any vote involving debt secured by docs, buildings, land, equipment, or company contracts. Chelsea called within 10 minutes. What are you doing? I'm being specific. Rodney had no business encouraging you. He told me to put my request in writing. You went to our accountant behind my back. I called the company accountant. You don't call employees and frighten them. Rodney isn't an employee. That isn't the point. What is the point? The point is that you're creating suspicion over an idea. Then clear it up. There is no loan. Are you talking to a bank? We talk to banks all the time. Has anyone valued the docs? She didn't answer immediately. Routine planning, she said. Who ordered it? I'm done with this. Chelsea. What? If there's no loan, send the board the current proposal. I said there's no loan. That wasn't what I asked. She hung up. I typed the date and time beneath my notes. Then I wrote her exact words. There is no loan. I printed the email I had sent. I placed it in a new folder beside the trust documents. On the tab, I wrote Harper Maritime. From then on, I stopped relying on memory. The next board packet arrived in January. It came by email on a Monday afternoon. The meeting was scheduled for Wednesday morning. Chelsea had attached a budget, a contractor estimate, and a one-page resolution titled Capital Modernization Authority. I read the resolution 3 times. It authorized the company president to negotiate financing, select contractors, and sign documents necessary for the expansion project. It didn't name a bank. It didn't list collateral. It didn't set a borrowing limit. I replied to everyone. Please provide the proposed financing amount, lender, repayment schedule, and collateral before the vote. Chelsea answered 6 minutes later. This vote only authorizes planning. Financing details will come later. I printed both emails. The meeting took place by video. I joined from my office before sunrise. The conference room at Harper Maritime appeared on my screen. Chelsea sat at the head of the table. Dale was on her right. Mom sat near the window, holding a paper cup. Rodney joined from his office. Chelsea called the meeting to order. She moved through the first items quickly. A refrigeration unit needed replacement. Fuel expenses were higher than expected. 2 delivery trucks required repairs. Then she reached the expansion. "You've all seen the packet," she said. "This resolution lets management continue development." I held up the page. "It lets you sign documents. Documents related to planning. It doesn't say that." Dale leaned toward the camera. "Contractors require letters of intent. Banks require preliminary authorization. This is normal. Then put those limits in the resolution." Chelsea sighed. "We're not editing documents during a meeting. You sent it 2 days ago. It's a straightforward authorization. No borrowing limit is straightforward?" Mom looked between us. "I thought we weren't approving a loan." "We aren't," Chelsea said. I asked, "Does this let you approve one later without another vote?" Dale answered, "It lets management act within the company's normal business authority. That still isn't an answer. It's the answer." Rodney cleared his throat. "The language is broad." Chelsea looked at him. "You reviewed it." "I reviewed the budget assumptions. You didn't object to the resolution. I wasn't asked to give a legal opinion." Chelsea pressed her lips together. I said, "Add 1 sentence. No company property can be pledged without a separate board vote." "We're not pledging property today," she replied. Then the sentence changes nothing. It delays the project. "How?" "Because every change goes back through council." "Good." Dale leaned back. "This is why companies appoint officers. The board sets direction. Management carries it out. Management still tells the board what it's doing." Chelsea looked toward Mom. "We can spend the entire morning arguing, or we can vote." Mom rubbed the rim of her cup. "I'm for the expansion if the numbers work." "They do," Chelsea said. "I want the docks protected." "They are protected." I asked, "How?" Chelsea ignored me. "All in favor?" Dale raised his hand. Mom slowly raised hers. Chelsea raised her own. I kept mine down. "Opposed?" she asked. "Yes." Her eyes moved to the screen. "Noted." I said, "Please include my reason in the minutes." "What reason?" "The resolution gives management open authority without identifying debt or collateral. I'll note that you opposed. Include the reason." She clicked her pen. "Anything else?" "Yes." "When is the financing vote?" "When there's financing to vote on." The meeting ended 7 minutes later. The draft minutes arrived the following week. My opposition appeared in 1 sentence. Vanessa Harper voted against the modernization resolution. Nothing about debt. Nothing about collateral. I sent a correction. Chelsea replied, "Minutes are a record, not a transcript." I wrote back, "Then record the substance." She didn't answer. The final minutes arrived unchanged. In March, Mom called me late in the evening. "I got something from the company," she said. "What kind of something?" "It wants my signature." "Don't sign it yet. I already opened it. Opening is fine." "What's it called?" There was paper rustling near the phone. "Shareholder acknowledgement and consent." "Consent to what?" "That's what I'm asking you." "Can you send it to me?" "I don't know how. I'll come over." The roads were slick. It took me almost 40 minutes to reach Point Woronzof. Mom had printed the document and left it beside her laptop. I sat at the kitchen table. The first page said, "The signer acknowledged management's authority to continue the modernization project." The second page referred to financing exhibits. There were no exhibits. "Did Chelsea explain this?" I asked. "She called this afternoon. What did she say? That it was routine? Anything else?" "She said Dale needed it by Friday." "Why?" "Something about preserving rates." I read the document again. "Did she mention the docs?" "No." "Did she mention a loan amount?" "No." Mom sat across from me. "Am I making trouble?" "No. I don't want to hold up the company. Requesting the missing pages isn't holding anything up." She looked toward Dad's empty place at the table. He would know what this means. He would read the exhibits. I used her laptop to email Chelsea and Dale. Rose received a shareholder consent referring to financing exhibits that were not included. "Please send the complete document before requesting her signature." Chelsea called Mom before I had closed the laptop. Mom looked at the screen. "It's her." Answer it." She put the call on speaker. "Hi, honey. Is Vanessa there?" Mom glanced at me. "Yes, I sent that document to you. She's helping me read it. I can explain it." "Then explain it," I said. Chelsea went quiet. "I wasn't talking to you. You asked if I was here. This consent confirms the January resolution." I looked at the pages. What are the financing exhibits? Draft materials? Why aren't they attached? They aren't final. Then why ask Mom to confirm she reviewed them? That's not what it says. I read the sentence aloud. Chelsea interrupted before I finished. "It's standard language. Standard language can still be false." Mom touched my wrist. "Vanessa." I lowered my voice. "Send the exhibits. There's nothing to send yet." Then revise the consent. Chelsea breathed into the phone. "We have spent months working on this. The contractor's pricing expires. Interest rates are moving. Every delay costs money. Then provide the information sooner. You don't understand the process. I understand a missing attachment." Dale spoke in the background. "Give me the phone." A second later, his voice came through clearly. "Vanessa, the bank needs evidence that the family supports expansion. Does the bank know I voted against the resolution? It has the minutes. The minutes don't say why. That isn't relevant. What assets are in the draft collateral schedule? We haven't finalized that. What assets are being considered?" He paused. "The expansion itself, equipment, receivables, the waterfront, potentially a limited portion. Which portion? We're looking at different structures." Mom leaned closer to the phone. "Dale, are you borrowing against the docks? No final decision has been made." "That's not what I asked." Chelsea took the phone back. "Mom, nobody is taking the docks away. I didn't say they were. You sound upset. I'm asking what you want me to sign. Acknowledgement that the company can move forward." Mom looked at me. "I won't sign without the other pages." Chelsea didn't answer. Then she said, "Fine." The call ended. Mom remained still for a while. Finally, she folded the document. "Was your father right about Dale?" "What did Dad say?" "That he knows debt." I remembered the deck, Dad's blanket, the plane crossing over the inlet. He said useful things can cut you. Mom got up and filled the kettle. I thought he was being difficult. He often was. She almost smiled. Then she looked at the unsigned consent. "Don't tell Chelsea I said this." "What? I don't trust him." "Dale?" She nodded. "Why?" "He talks about the company like it's a stack of chips. Put this over here, borrow against that, make the pile bigger." "What does Chelsea say?" "She says I worry because I'm old-fashioned. You're allowed to worry about property you own." Mom poured water into the kettle. She doesn't like hearing that. The missing exhibits arrived the next afternoon. They were marked draft. One page listed potential collateral categories. Waterfront land was included. So were the docks, cannery hall, refrigeration equipment, company vehicles, and existing customer receivables. There was still no amount. I emailed Chelsea. "What is the maximum proposed borrowing?" She replied, "To be determined." I asked, "What is the expected term?" "To be determined." I asked, "Is there a balloon payment?" She didn't answer. Mom didn't sign the acknowledgement that week. 2 weeks later, she called me. I signed it. I was standing in a grocery store aisle holding a bag of rice. "What changed?" Chelsea came over. "When?" "Sunday." "What did she show you?" "A different page." "What did it say?" "That I supported the expansion." "Did it mention collateral?" "I don't think so. Do you have a copy?" She took it with her. I put the rice back on the shelf. "Mom, why did you sign something without keeping a copy?" She was sitting at the table crying. Chelsea was crying. She said everyone at work was counting on her. She said if the project failed, people might lose jobs. Did she say why your signature was necessary? She said the bank wanted the family united. I leaned against the cart. "Did she tell you I signed?" "No." "Did she imply I supported it?" Mom was silent. "Mom, she said you were making a point, but you wouldn't actually stand in the way." I closed my eyes. I voted no. I know. She knows too. I was trying to help. I'm not angry with you. You sound angry. I'm angry that she came to you alone. Mom's voice became small. She's my daughter. So am I know that. A woman pushed her cart around me. I moved closer to the shelves. Ask Chelsea for a copy of what you signed. She'll think you put me up to it. Then tell her I did. That'll make it worse. The signature already happened. We need the document. Mom promised she would ask. She never received a copy. In May, I had several days in Anchorage without evening commitments. I drove to Harper Maritime after lunch. The North Dock was blocked by orange cones. 2 men in reflective jackets were measuring the pilings. A third stood near the cannery wall taking photographs. I parked beside Dad's old space. Chelsea came out before I reached the office. You should call before showing up. I'm a shareholder and a board member. You still call. I looked toward the dock. Who are they? Inspectors. For what? Property condition, insurance, among other things. One of the men walked over holding a clipboard. He looked at Chelsea. We'll need access to the South Storage Building for the lender photographs. Chelsea's expression hardened. I'll meet you there. He nodded and walked away. I waited. She pulled her jacket closed. It's preliminary. You said there was no loan. That was months ago. You haven't held another board vote. The January resolution passed. You said that vote was only planning. It authorized management, not a loan. We're not closing today. What bank? I'm not discussing this in the parking lot. Then let's go inside. She stepped closer. You're disrupting work. I asked one question. You drove down here to catch me doing something. I drove down here because Mom signed a paper you won't give her. Chelsea's eyes narrowed. She showed you? She told me. Of course she did. She has a right to a copy. I'll send it. You said that before. A gust moved through the lot. Loose plastic snapped against the fence. Chelsea looked toward the inspectors. I don't have time for this. What's the lender photographing? The property. All of it? The parts relevant to the expansion. That man said the South Storage Building. It supports operations. So does the cannery hall. She didn't answer. So do the docks, I said. This is how financing works. Then why hide it? I'm not hiding anything. You left collateral out of the board packet. You left exhibits out of Mom's consent. You called the inspection routine because you turn every detail into an accusation. Details become accusations when the answers keep changing. She pointed toward my car. Go back to your career. I stared at her finger. Then I looked at her. Send the full financing package. You aren't entitled to interfere with negotiations. I'm entitled to board records. You'll get final documents when they're final. Before they're signed? She folded her arms. I have a company to run. She walked toward the south building. I went into the office. The receptionist looked nervous when she saw me. I asked for the visitor log. Chelsea handles access requests. I'm not asking for confidential files. I'm asking who is inspecting company property. She looked toward the window. I can't give you that. Can you tell me whether the company ordered the inspection? I really don't know. Her face told me she knew enough to be uncomfortable. I thanked her and left. From my car, I called Benjamin. I think Chelsea is arranging a secured loan without disclosing the terms to the full board. What makes you think that? I described the January vote, Mom's consent, the missing exhibits, and the lender inspection. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "Have you seen executed loan documents?" "No." "Has money been disbursed?" "Not that I know." "Then right now you have concerns about process. Can she use the docks as collateral? Harper Maritime owns the docks. The trust owns controlling shares in Harper Maritime. Those are different things. So the trust can't stop her? I didn't say that. I said the question depends on company authority, board action, and the actual loan documents. The resolution was broad. How broad? I'll send it. Send the minutes too. I watched Chelsea lead the inspectors through the south building. What happens if she signs before anyone objects? That depends on what she signs. You say that a lot, because documents matter. I'm starting to understand why Dad hired you. Benjamin made a small sound that might have been a laugh. Don't confront the bank. Don't make claims you can't support. Request the documents in writing. I already did. Request them again. And if she refuses, keep the refusal. I returned home and sent another formal request. Chelsea didn't respond. Dale did. Management will circulate final financing documents after execution, consistent with the board's January authorization. I read the sentence several times. After execution, I forwarded it to Benjamin and Rodney. Rodney replied only to me, please call. When I did, he sounded tired. Have you approved any financing since January? He asked. No. Have you received a closing package? No. Did you authorize management to pledge all waterfront property? No. He was quiet. What have you seen? I asked. I've seen projected entries. Nothing I can treat as final until the transaction closes. What amount? I can't release a draft number. Is it more than the expansion estimate? Another pause. You need to insist on the executed file. When? As soon as it exists. The file existed in August. It arrived 3 days after the loan closed. The amount was $2,400,000. The collateral schedule covered both docks, the cannery hall, the cold storage buildings, company equipment, and certain receivables. Chelsea had signed as president. Dale had signed as financial officer and co-owner. The maturity date was in the summer of 2026. Most payments covered interest and only part of the principal. The remaining balance would come due at once unless the bank agreed to refinance it. I circled that date, then placed the closing package in my folder. Then I read the rest. The bank required annual financial statements, proof of insurance, and updated reports on the collateral. If the company missed certain targets, the bank could demand more information or refuse to extend the maturity date. I called Chelsea. She answered with, I knew you'd do this. Do what? Find one sentence and panic. I read the whole package. Then you know the project is funded. I know you signed the loan before sending it to the board. The board authorized it. The board authorized planning. That's your interpretation. You said there would be another vote. I said financing details would come later. After execution isn't later. It's too late. She made a frustrated sound. Nothing is too late. Construction starts next month. What did Mom sign? A shareholder consent. I can see that. Her signature page is in the file. Then why ask? The document says she reviewed the final collateral schedule. She didn't. She reviewed a draft. The draft didn't include all this property. It said waterfront assets. It said a limited portion might be considered. Chelsea lowered her voice. I'm not discussing Mom with you. You used her signature to support the closing. She supports the project. That's not the same as understanding the loan. Stop treating her like she's helpless. I'm treating her like someone who deserved the full document. Dale spoke near the phone. Put her on speaker. Chelsea did. His voice sounded calm. The bank's lawyers reviewed everything, he said. The bank's lawyers protect the bank. They also verify authority. With the January resolution, yes. The one you said wasn't a loan vote? The resolution authorized management to secure financing for the approved project. It never used the word secure. It didn't need to. What happens in the summer of 2026? We refinance. What if the bank says no? It won't. That isn't an answer. Dale paused. The company will have 3 years of higher revenue by then. What contracts support that? We're in discussions. So none. Discussions become contracts. Sometimes. Chelsea cut in. You want this to fail? No. You opposed it from the beginning. I opposed signing a blank authorization. You opposed me. There it was again. Not the loan, not the docs, her. I said, send Mom a complete copy of what she signed. She has the closing package. She has what I printed for her. Then she has it. I sent it, not you. You're exhausting. I'll see you at the next board meeting. I ended the call. Construction began in September. The old North Storage Building came down first. For several weeks, photographs appeared in the company reports. Steel frames, new concrete, Refrigeration units wrapped in plastic. The expansion looked impressive. That complicated things. Employees were working, contractors were being paid. The new loading lane made sense. Fishing crews liked the plan. Nothing failed immediately. Chelsea used that as proof that every concern had been foolish. At Thanksgiving, she placed photographs of the construction beside Mom's dinner plates. "Look at that," she said, "already ahead of schedule." Mom studied a picture of the steel frame. "It's big. It needs to be." Dale pointed to the loading area. "This is where the larger trucks will turn." I asked, "Are the costs still within budget?" Chelsea didn't look at me. "Yes. Have you signed any additional borrowing?" "No. Any change orders?" "One minor one." "How much?" She set down her fork. "Can we eat one meal? You brought the project photographs." "For Mom." "Then answer Mom's board member." Mom whispered, "Please don't make me part of it." I stopped. Chelsea smiled as though she'd won something. After dinner, she showed Mom more pictures in the living room. Dale stood behind them and described future contracts. I washed dishes. When Mom joined me, she dried the same plate for almost a minute. "Maybe they were right," she said. "About what?" "The expansion. It might work. You still don't like it." "I don't like how they did it, but if it works." I rinsed a serving spoon. "Then it works." She waited. "That's all. That's all." Mom placed the dry plate in the cabinet. "I thought you'd say the way they did it matters more." "It matters. So does the company surviving." She looked relieved. Chelsea had trained everyone to expect a fight from me. Refusing to provide one confused them. The construction continued through the winter. In the spring of 2024, I received notice that my name was eligible to go before another promotion board. The message came while I was eating lunch at my desk. I read it, finished my soup, and returned to work. I didn't call Mom, I didn't tell Chelsea. My record would go where it needed to go. Talking about it at home would only turn it into another argument. That summer, General Reynolds took command. She had a direct way of listening. During her first staff review, she asked each section what wasn't working. Most people gave safe answers. I gave her 3 specific problems. She wrote them down. When I finished, she asked, "Which one costs us the most time?" "The second." "Which can we fix fastest?" "The first." "Then why did you list them in that order?" "Because the third becomes dangerous if we ignore it." She looked at me for a moment. "Stay after." When the room cleared, she turned her notebook around. She had drawn a line under the third problem. "Show me the supporting data by Friday." "Yes, ma'am, and don't make it pretty." I wasn't planning to. The corner of her mouth moved. "I know." By Friday, I gave her 12 pages. She read all 12. I didn't know then how important it would become that Gail Reynolds paid attention to what people actually did. That fall, Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson hosted a contracting event for Alaska businesses. Harper Maritime had handled commercial shipments connected to base suppliers, so Chelsea and Dale attended. I was there for the readiness presentations. The event filled a large conference room with folding tables and company displays. People carried coffee in paper cups and talked over one another. I saw Chelsea near the entrance. She wore a cream-colored jacket and a Harper Maritime name badge. Dale stood beside the company display, arranging brochures. "You came," I said. "It's a contracting event." "I know." "Dale thinks there may be cold storage opportunities." "That makes sense." She looked at my uniform. "Are you working the registration table?" "No." "What are you doing?" "Briefing later." "On what?" "Arctic movement and supply coordination." She glanced toward the presentation area. "To business owners?" "To anyone who came to hear it." "That seems broad." "It's an open event." Dale joined us. "We've been invited to a lender dinner next week," he said. "What lender?" I asked. Chelsea gave him a look. He ignored it. "The same bank. About the expansion? About future options?" Chelsea picked up a brochure. "We're not doing this here. You brought up the dinner." I didn't. Dale did. General Reynolds approached before I could answer. She looked at the Harper Maritime display, then at Chelsea's name badge. "You're Vanessa's sister." Chelsea brightened. I am Chelsea Harper Vaughn. They shook hands. This is my husband, Dale. General Reynolds shook his hand, too. I've heard about your waterfront operation. Dale smiled. We've just completed a major expansion. Then your timing may be good. Cold weather transportation is getting more attention. Chelsea touched my arm. Vanessa grew up around all of it, though she escaped as soon as she could. I looked at her hand until she removed it. General Reynolds said, she didn't escape very far. Logistics still seems to find her. Chelsea laughed. She likes the organized part. The useful part, General Reynolds said. Chelsea's smile remained in place. You know how she is. Give her a uniform and a clipboard and she'll make a career out of checking boxes. Dale looked toward the display. General Reynolds didn't move. She briefs in 20 minutes, she said. You may want to listen. Oh, I've heard Vanessa explain things. Not to me. The silence lasted just long enough. Chelsea glanced at the presentation area. We have appointments with vendors. Of course. General Reynolds nodded to me and continued across the room. Chelsea waited until she was several steps away. Was that necessary? What? Making me look rude in front of your boss. I didn't say anything. That was the problem. You said it. You could have softened it. How? She pushed the brochure into its holder. Forget it. Dale kept his voice low. Chelsea, we need to meet the refrigeration supplier. She walked away without looking at me. I gave my briefing 20 minutes later. Chelsea didn't attend. General Reynolds sat in the back and took notes. Afterwards, she waited while people left. Your sister doesn't know what you do, she said. No, ma'am. Does she want to? No, ma'am. She studied me. That answer came quickly. She's had time. General Reynolds closed her notebook. Family? Family. She nodded once. Then she asked about the third slide, and we went back to work. The expansion began operating before the end of the year. Revenue increased, but not as quickly as Dale had predicted. The larger contracts took longer to secure. Fuel and maintenance costs also rose. The company reports still look stable. The loan appeared as expansion financing. The balance declined only slightly. I kept reading. In the spring of 2025, Rodney sent the annual audit schedule to the board. 2 weeks later, he called me. Are you somewhere private? He asked. I closed my office door. I am now. I need to confirm your understanding of the 2023 loan. My understanding when it closed. I knew the amount and collateral after it closed. Before closing, did you approve the final collateral schedule? No. Did the board vote to pledge both docks and all waterfront buildings? No. Did you sign a written consent? No. Did you authorize someone to sign for you? No. He became quiet. What did the bank receive? I asked. I'm still reviewing it. That's not why you called. No. I waited. Rodney finally said, the lender confirmation doesn't match the company's internal collateral reporting. Explain that in ordinary language. The bank believes it has a broad claim against nearly all waterfront assets listed in the closing file. I know that. The annual company records describe the loan as secured mainly by the expansion assets and equipment. Who prepared those records? Management provided the classifications. My office used them for the draft statements, so the board reports make the collateral look smaller. Yes. Does the bank know? The bank has its own schedule. Then why does it matter? Because the board, insurer, and lender are working from descriptions that don't align. That creates problems when you refinance, sell an asset, make an insurance claim, or certify compliance. I picked up a pen. What else? The bank file contains an officer certificate. Signed by whom? Dale. What does it say? That the complete collateral package was disclosed to and approved by the company's board. It wasn't. I need to establish that. You just did. I need records. I opened my Harper Maritime folder. I have the January resolution, emails, minutes, draft exhibits, and Dale's message saying final documents would be circulated after execution. Rodney let out a slow breath. Send copies. Did you ask Chelsea about this? This morning. What did she say? She told me to keep the audit simple. What does that mean? Her exact words were, the bank got what it needed, the board got what it needed, and the project is operating. Don't create a problem where there isn't one. I wrote the sentence down. What did you say? I told her I can't certify records I know are incomplete, and she ended the meeting. A truck moved somewhere outside my office. I heard the low vibration through the wall. Is the loan in default? I asked. Not currently. Can the bank call it? Not simply because the internal descriptions are poor, but if representations were inaccurate or required reporting isn't corrected, the bank may refuse refinancing or demand other protections. How serious is that? Serious enough that the full board should know. Will you tell them? I intend to. When? After I finish comparing the files. What are you missing? The version of the board minutes provided to the bank, insurance schedules from the closing, a complete copy of Rose's consent. I never received Rose's consent, neither did I. Chelsea has it, so she says. I looked at Dad's trust folder in the same drawer. Does Benjamin know? Not from me. Should he? The trust holds controlling shares. If company assets are being reported inconsistently, yes. I called Benjamin after sending Rodney my records. He asked me to come to his office the next day. The waiting room looked unchanged. Same old photographs, same coffee smell. He placed my emails beside the trust deed. Rodney sent me the officer certificate. He said, "Can I see it?" He turned it toward me. Dale's signature appeared at the bottom. Above it was a statement certifying that the board had reviewed and approved the full loan terms, including all collateral. The certificate was dated 3 days before I received the closing package. Attached behind it was the January board resolution. My vote against it was nowhere on the certificate. Can they do that? I asked. That question has several answers. Give me the useful one. The bank relied on a broader description of board approval than the record support. Does that invalidate the loan? Probably not. The bank may still have rights as a lender acting in good faith, so the company carries the risk. Yes. And Chelsea? That depends on what she knew, what she approved, and what she represented. I looked at Dale's signature. I thought this was about her shutting me out. It may have started that way. But now it concerns the integrity of company records. He closed the file. Rodney needs to finish his work. Then the board needs a formal audit meeting. I stood. Chelsea will fight it. I expect she will. Can she stop it? Not if the accountant reports a material concern to the board. Benjamin placed the certificate into a clear sleeve. For the first time, I wasn't looking at a family argument. I was looking at a statement made to a bank in the name of a board that had never made it. The audit meeting was set for the following week. Chelsea arrived 20 minutes early. She wore a navy suit and carried a fresh copy of the loan file. Dale came in behind her with his laptop. Mom sat beside me. Benjamin took the chair near the end of the table. Rodney placed 6 folders in front of us. Chelsea looked at his folder. Is that the final audit? No. Why not? Because I need the board to address several reporting issues. We could have done that by email. Rodney opened his folder. I tried discussing them with you. You asked questions. I answered them. You ended the meeting. Because you kept asking the same thing. I kept asking because the answer changed. Dale opened his laptop. Can we identify the actual issue? Rodney passed out a 1-page comparison. The left side showed what the bank had received. The right side showed what the company's internal records said. The bank's side listed nearly every waterfront asset. The company's side listed expansion property, new equipment, and certain receivables. Mom moved the page closer. Why are the docs only on one side? Chelsea answered. Because Rodney is comparing documents written for different purposes. Do we owe the bank the docs? Mom asked. You don't owe anyone a doc. You know what I mean. Dale turned his laptop toward Rodney. The loan agreement controls. The internal description is a bookkeeping classification. Rodney shook his head. It isn't only bookkeeping. Annual statements are being given to shareholders and the insurer. Those statements don't describe the bank's claim accurately. The bank has its own documents. The board should have the same understanding. I do, Chelsea said. Rodney looked at me. Not every board member did. Chelsea followed his eyes. Vanessa received the closing package. After execution, I said. You keep saying that like it changes the paperwork. It changes what I could approve. You voted against the project anyway. I voted against the resolution because it had no limits. Exactly. You were never going to support it. You didn't give me anything specific to support. Dale raised one hand. We're moving backward. The loan is current. The expansion is operating. No creditor has complained. Benjamin spoke for the first time. The absence of a complaint doesn't correct an inaccurate certification. Dale looked at him. The certificate was accurate. Benjamin slid a copy across the table. It says the board reviewed and approved the complete collateral package. The board approved management authority to complete the financing. That's not what you certified. It's what the resolution meant. Asked, why didn't you write that? Dale's fingers stopped over his keyboard. Write what? That the board gave management authority. Why did you tell the bank we reviewed the complete package? The bank had a standard certificate, so you signed words that weren't true because they were standard? Chelsea leaned forward. Stop trying to turn a form into misconduct. I looked at her. Did you read it before Dale signed? Yes. Did you know I hadn't seen the final collateral schedule? Yes. Did you know Mom hadn't seen it? She saw the draft. The final schedule was larger, not materially. Mom tapped the page. Both docs feel material to me. Chelsea closed her eyes for a second. Mom, we've been over this. No, you came to my house and cried. Chelsea became still. Mom's voice shook, but she continued. You said people would lose their jobs if I didn't sign. I said delays could affect the project. You said the family had to be united. We did. You didn't tell me Vanessa voted no. I told you she was making a point. That isn't the same. Chelsea looked at me. You've been working on her. Mom placed her palm flat on the table. She doesn't work on me. The room went quiet. It was the first time Mom had answered Chelsea that firmly since Dad died. Dale closed his laptop halfway. This is becoming personal. It was personal when you used my signature, Mom said. You signed voluntarily. I signed what Chelsea brought me, and the consent accurately states that you supported the expansion. It says I reviewed things I never saw. Rodney turned to another page. I still haven't received the exact consent Rose signed. Chelsea reached into her loan file. I brought it. She passed him a 4-page document. Mom leaned toward me. That's not what I remember. Chelsea heard her. It's the same document. The page I signed was by itself, because I printed the signature page separately. Why? Our printer at home jammed. Dale said, the electronic file was complete. Rodney examined the pages. The collateral exhibit attached here is marked final. It was final when the file was assembled, Dale said. Was it attached when Rose signed? Dale looked at Chelsea. She answered, no. Rodney removed his glasses. Then I can't treat this consent as evidence that Rose reviewed the final collateral. It doesn't need to be evidence of that, Chelsea said. That is exactly what it says. She pushed her chair back slightly. What do you want? I want corrected internal statements. I want an amended board record stating who saw what and when. I want the insurer's collateral description reconciled with the bank file. And then I complete the audit. Cleanly? If the corrections are complete, and if we don't agree, I report the issue to the board and controlling trustee. You already did, yes? Dale reopened his laptop. What goes to the bank? Rodney looked at him. That depends on the loan's reporting requirements and the final findings. That's not an answer. It's the answer you have today. Dale's calm expression slipped. The bank cannot receive a report suggesting disputed authority. Benjamin said, the authority is disputed. The resolution passed. The wording of your certificate is disputed. Dale pointed toward me. By one person who opposed the company from the first conversation. I said, Mom disputes it too. Mom nodded. Dale sat back. That changes things. His tone did more than the words. I looked at him. What changes? He didn't answer. Chelsea stood and walked to the window. Below us, traffic moved along the street. Rodney asked, was the bank told there was no unanimous approval? The resolution didn't require unanimity, Dale said. That wasn't my question. The bank received the minutes. The minutes only say Vanessa opposed modernization. They don't give her reason. Minutes aren't transcripts, Chelsea said. I watched her reflection in the window. She'd used that sentence before. Benjamin said, why did the bank need Rose's separate consent? Chelsea turned around. It preferred family support. Preferred or required? Dale answered, preferred. Then why was her signature presented as evidence of complete review? Because the loan officer wanted a clean file. Benjamin looked down at the certificate. A clean file is not the same as an accurate one. Dale's face hardened. You're an estate lawyer. I'm trustee of the controlling shareholder, and that is exactly the problem. Nobody spoke. Chelsea looked at him sharply. He seemed to realize he'd said too much. I asked, what problem? Dale closed the laptop again. Uncertainty. About what? Control. Benjamin controls the trust shares. Chelsea controls operations. Banks don't like divided authority. That division existed before the loan. Yes, he said, and we needed to show that management wasn't going to be undermined every time Vanessa came home with questions. Chelsea returned to her chair. Dale. No. She wants the truth. He looked at me. The expansion wasn't going to work if every decision required approval from someone who isn't here. I didn't ask to approve every decision. You demanded lender files, collateral schedules, and contractor terms for a loan secured by the entire waterfront. You see? You say entire waterfront like the bank owns it. It can take action if the company doesn't pay. The company will pay. With what? Revenue. And the balloon? We refinance. Rodney said. That refinancing isn't guaranteed. Dale looked at him. It was expected. Based on stronger revenue growth than the company has achieved. Chelsea's hand tightened around her pen. We have another year, I asked. What does control have to do with refinancing? Dale glanced at Chelsea. She answered this time. The bank wants continuity. What does that mean? It means they want to know the person running the company will continue running it. You. Yes, Benjamin said the trust owns the controlling shares. For now. Benjamin's expression didn't change. Chelsea kept her eyes on me. Dad didn't build Harper Maritime so an attorney could run it. Benjamin doesn't run it. Neither do you. I know. Do you? Her voice rose. Because every time I make a decision, you appear with a folder and act like I stole something. You hid the loan terms. I protected the company from delay. You misled Mom. I got the support I needed. Mom flinched. Chelsea saw it. She looked away, but she didn't take the words back. I asked, support for what? The expansion. No, Dale just said this is about control. Chelsea laughed without humor. You really don't understand. Then explain it. She looked around the table. Nobody rescued her. Finally, she said, I stayed. Her voice was quieter. I worked every summer. I gave up vacations. I learned the vendors, the crews, the contracts, and every piece of equipment Dad refused to replace. When he got sick, I ran the company and sat beside his bed. I handled payroll while you called from somewhere else and asked if we needed anything. I came home whenever I could, and then you left again. I had responsibilities. So did I. I never said you didn't. You never had to. Her eyes were wet now, but her posture stayed rigid. Dad looked at you like every room changed when you entered it. You showed up in that uniform and people asked about you. I could save him $100,000 in 1 quarter and he'd still ask whether your flight was on time. Mom said, that isn't fair. Chelsea turned toward her. You know it's true. Your father was proud of both of you, not the same way. I understood then why my questions felt like theft to her. She didn't only want to manage Harper Maritime. She wanted the company to prove Dad had chosen her over me. Every signature, every introduction, every new building carried the same message. She had stayed, so she deserved the whole thing. I asked, was the expansion meant to make the company stronger or make your position stronger? Those are the same thing. No, they are when I'm the one keeping it alive. Dale spoke carefully. The company needed growth. Growth required financing. Financing required stable control. And stable control means nobody questions Chelsea. It means the bank knows who makes decisions. You wanted Rose's signature to show family support. You kept my objection vague in the minutes. You certified full board approval, all so the bank would treat Chelsea like the owner. Chelsea said, I am the owner in every way that matters. Benjamin answered, you are president and a minority shareholder, for now. Again, those two words. I asked, what are you expecting to happen? She looked at the trust folder near Benjamin. Eventually, Dad's shares come out of that thing. And then, you get whatever the papers say you get. That sounds generous. You want honesty? Fine. I don't think you deserve half of what I built. Mom whispered, Chelsea. She doesn't. I never asked for half. That's worse. You float above it all because money doesn't matter to you until someone puts your name on a document. Dale placed his hand near hers. We had a plan. I looked at him. What plan? Build the expansion, increase revenue, refinance the balloon, consolidate voting authority under Chelsea. If the trust later distributed shares, we could buy out any interest that interfered with operations. With company money, with financing based on the improved value, so the company would borrow again to buy control for Chelsea, to prevent fragmentation, and the bank thinks the family already supports that? Dale didn't answer. That was why the file had to look clean. It wasn't only about getting one loan approved, they were creating a paper trail that made Chelsea appear uncontested. By the time Dad's controlling shares ever moved, the lender, employees, and other shareholders would already see her as the only possible owner. My absence had become part of their financial strategy. Rodney gathered his pages. I'm issuing a formal request for corrections. Chelsea wiped beneath one eye with her fingertip. If you do that, you could damage the refinancing. I'm doing my job, so am I. Rodney looked at her. Then, help me make the records accurate. The meeting ended without agreement. Outside, Chelsea followed me to my car. You happy now? She asked. No. You finally made Mom doubt me. You brought her a signature page and kept the attachments. I was saving her from details she wouldn't understand. She understood enough to ask. Chelsea looked toward the office windows. You'll go back to work. I'll be here tomorrow dealing with this. Yes. And when the company survives, you'll still act like you protected it. I'm not trying to protect the company from you. That's exactly what you're trying to do. I'm trying to protect it from the idea that you are the company. She stepped back. For once, she had no answer. That summer, I received private notice that my promotion packet had been approved pending final confirmation. I read the notice alone. Then I locked it in my desk and went to my next meeting. In September, Benjamin called my personal number. I need to speak with you about the trust. What happened? Nothing has happened yet. That word mattered. Is this about the audit? No. Chelsea? Indirectly. When? As soon as you can come in. I went the next afternoon. Benjamin had the original trust deed on his conference table. It wasn't in one of his normal folders. It was inside a thick archival sleeve with Dad's signature visible through the plastic. Beside it sat the company's share register. Benjamin closed the door. I conduct an annual review of the trust, he said. Holdings, beneficiaries, company status, and any conditions that may require action. Did Rodney find something else? This isn't from Rodney. He opened a working file. One condition has been dormant since Eugene signed the deed in 2005. Until recently, I had no reason to believe it would ever become active. I sat down. What condition? He turned the deed toward me. Before I explain it, I need to ask you something. You don't have to give me private personnel records. I only need to know whether public information is substantially correct. What public information? Your name appeared among those eligible for advancement last year. I kept my face still. It did. Has the process moved beyond eligibility? Yes. How far? Pending final confirmation. Benjamin leaned back. Then I was right to call you. About what? He removed several pages from the sleeve. Dad had initialed the bottom of each one. Benjamin pointed to a paragraph under the words, "Succession of Voting Trusteeship." It's easier if I read the relevant part. Go ahead. He read slowly. Upon the death of Eugene Harper, sole voting trusteeship of all controlling shares shall transfer to the first Harper descendant officially certified as holding a position of senior public trust, defined as colonel or higher in the United States Armed Forces, elected statewide office, or appointment as a federal judge. I didn't move. Benjamin continued. If no Harper descendant achieves such position, the controlling interest shall remain under the independent trustee until final distribution in equal shares to Eugene Harper's daughters, according to the remaining terms of this deed. I looked at Dad's initials. What happens if someone qualifies? The voting trusteeship transfers to that person. Ownership too? The shares remain inside the trust. The qualified descendant becomes controlling trustee. That person exercises the voting power attached to the controlling shares. For how long? Under this deed, until resignation, incapacity, death, or another condition stated later in the document. I read the paragraph myself. The words didn't change. Did Chelsea see this? She received a copy of the deed after your father died. That isn't what I asked. I don't know how much she read. At the estate meeting, she stopped before the succession provisions. Yes, did Dad ever discuss this with her? Not in my presence. With me? According to my records, no. He asked me about responsibility the day he signed this. Benjamin looked up. What did he ask? He asked what responsibility looked like. Then he asked about authority. What did you say? That authority should follow responsibility. Benjamin gave a small nod. I remember him saying he'd heard the answer he needed. You knew that was me. He didn't tell me who gave it. I looked at Dad's signature again. Why these positions? Eugene wanted an objective standard. Why not business experience? He believed business experience could be claimed too easily inside a family company. He wanted outside certification, by people the family couldn't pressure. That was part of his reasoning. Did he write this for me? Benjamin considered the question. He wrote it so any Harper descendant could qualify. Chelsea was never going to become a federal judge. He didn't name either of you. She wasn't going to run for statewide office. He understood the possibilities were narrow. That isn't an answer. It's the honest answer I have. I stood and walked to the window. People crossed the street below us. A delivery truck waited at the light. What does officially certified mean? That is the important part. I assumed it would be. Benjamin turned to another page. The deed requires documentary certification. It cannot rest on an announcement, a selection list, or a pending decision. For military service, the qualifying order must be final and formally conferred, so nothing has triggered. Correct. And if my pending promotion disappears, nothing changes. If it's confirmed, I'll need the order. Before it becomes effective, I can review it before. I can't certify the trust transfer until the qualification formally exists. I return to the table. How quickly do you act? The deed says I must notify all shareholders within 1 day. 1 day after what? After official certification. Who decides that moment? I do, based on the document. I read further down the page. The notification requirement was there. Dad had underlined it before signing. Chelsea thinks she'll eventually control the shares. She has made assumptions. She told us the shares would come out of the trust. The deed allows final distribution only if no qualifying descendant has triggered the earlier provision, so she skimmed the ending. That appears possible. and missed the condition before it. I can't say what she missed. I can say she has never asked me to interpret this clause. I sat down again. What are you required to tell her now? Nothing. Why? No qualifying event has occurred. I don't disclose one beneficiary's private circumstances to another. And if it happens, I act, even if I ask you not to? Yes. The answer came without hesitation. I appreciated that. Can I refuse the trusteeship? After transfer, you can resign according to the deed. You can't make the trigger untrue. Then who gets control? That depends on the resignation provisions and successor appointment process. I'm not asking because I plan to resign. I know. You sound very sure. You haven't made a decision without reading the paper in front of you. I looked at him. Chelsea thinks that's a character flaw. Chelsea is not my client in this matter. Am I? No, the trust is. That was another answer I appreciated. I asked for a complete certified copy. Benjamin made one while I waited. He stamped each relevant page and attached a certification stating it matched the original deed in his custody. Then he showed me the funding schedule from 2005. Dad had transferred the controlling company shares into the trust. The stock certificate numbers matched the current register. No amendment? I asked. None affecting succession or voting control. Could Dad have changed it? Not after it became irrevocable. When did that happen? The restrictions began when he funded it. His death activated the independent administration provisions. Could Chelsea challenge it? Anyone can challenge anything. Whether they succeed is another question. What would she argue? Lack of capacity, improper execution, invalid funding, ambiguity, trustee misconduct, the usual list. Do any of those fit? I was present when Eugene signed. 2 witnesses were present. His doctor had documented his capacity earlier that month because he was completing several estate matters. The trust was funded, reported, and administered for years. Ambiguity? I don't consider the qualifying standard ambiguous. Neither do I. I touched the certified copy. I want to verify the share register separately. That's sensible. You're not offended? I'd be concerned if you didn't. I called Rodney from the parking lot. He met me 2 days later at his office. I didn't tell him about my pending promotion. I showed him only the trust funding schedule and asked him to compare it with Harper Maritime's current ownership records. He pulled the share ledger from his audit file. The certificate numbers matched. The trust holds the controlling block, he said. Has that ever changed? No. Has Chelsea ever held a majority of voting shares personally? No. Could the company issue enough new shares to dilute the trust? Not under the current governing documents without trustee approval. Could the loan documents change ownership? No. They encumber company assets. They don't transfer company shares unless there's some separate agreement I haven't seen. There isn't. Rodney looked at the certified pages. Why are you checking this now? Benjamin found a succession condition that may become relevant. What condition? I'm not ready to discuss that. He nodded. Does it affect the audit? Not yet. If it does, I need to know. You will. He tapped the share register. For what it's worth, Chelsea has been presenting herself as the company's controlling owner in some business conversations. Where? Vendor meetings, a lender call, nothing in the signed financial statements. Has anyone corrected her? I did once. What did she say? That legal ownership and practical control were different. I heard her voice saying the same thing in Benjamin's office after Dad died. I placed the certified copy back in its envelope. Thank you. Vanessa, be careful. About what? Chelsea treats questions about authority as questions about her worth. I know. That makes people unpredictable. She's still my sister. That doesn't make her more predictable. I left with confirmation from both sides. The trust deed said what Benjamin had read. The company ledger showed the trust still controlled the shares. Nothing had been amended, transferred, or diluted. I stored my certified copy in a locked cabinet at home. I also scanned it to an encrypted drive with my other important records. Then I waited. The audit issue remained open through the end of that year. Rodney required corrected internal descriptions. Chelsea agreed to some and resisted others. The company wasn't in default. The bank hadn't called the loan. Construction revenue kept coming in, though below Dale's first forecast. From the outside, Harper Maritime looked healthy. Inside, the summer maturity date kept getting closer. My final confirmation arrived during the winter of 2026. I was in General Reynolds' office when she told me. The formal paperwork would follow. The effective date still had to be set. Until then, nothing changed in my daily work. She watched me read the notice. "That's all you're going to do?" she asked. "What should I do?" Most people smile. I smiled. There. That looked painful. It wasn't. "You told your family?" "No, ma'am. Why not? It isn't formal yet. It will be. When it is, I'll tell them." General Reynolds leaned back. "The Secretary of the Army will be here for the Arctic Readiness Review." I knew about the visit, everyone did. "He has a full schedule," I said. "He does." She slid another page toward me. His office asked whether there were significant personnel events worth including. I looked at the page. "And you sent mine." I did. Without asking me. "Yes. That sounds like you." It should. I read the proposed event note. Secretary Joseph Navarro would officiate at the formal ceremony during his scheduled visit to Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. "That's larger than I wanted," I said. "It isn't about what size you wanted. What is it about?" "Appropriate recognition." I set the page down. "Can it still be simple?" "Yes." "Short?" "Yes." "No long introduction?" General Reynolds looked almost amused. "That part is not entirely yours to control." I thought of Chelsea at the contracting event, her hand on my arm, her comment about boxes and clipboards. I'd like my mother there, of course, and my sister. General Reynolds studied me. "You sure?" "Yes, ma'am." "All right." I called Benjamin after leaving her office. "The promotion is confirmed," I said. "The formal date hasn't been set. Will there be an order?" "Yes." "Will it be read publicly?" "That's standard for the ceremony being planned." "Then send me the final order as soon as you receive your authorized copy." "What happens before the ceremony?" "I review the order, confirm authenticity, and prepare a contingent notice." Contingent? Signed and ready, but not effective. And at the ceremony? The moment the order is formally read and your status is certified, the trust condition is met. You're certain? I've reviewed the language with the deed, the share records, and the expected form of the order. Does anyone else need to approve your interpretation? No. Does Chelsea get advance notice? No. I looked through the glass wall of my office. People moved along the hallway carrying folders and coffee. "Keep it exactly where it is," I said. "Quiet, correct, and off to the side of my own life. That is where it will stay until the condition is met." The ceremony date was placed on the calendar. I sent Mom and Chelsea formal invitations without explaining anything beyond the time, location, and required base access. Mom accepted that night. Chelsea waited 4 days. Her reply said, "I'll try. We're busy with the anniversary relaunch." I called her. "What relaunch?" "The gala." "What gala?" "Harper Maritime turned 60 this year. I know when it was founded, then you know why we're marking it." She sounded distracted. I heard keyboard clicks. "When is it?" "Late summer." "Who's coming?" "Clients, community leaders, trade press, the bank." "The bank? We're presenting the company's next phase. Does that include refinancing?" "It includes growth." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm working." "Was there something else?" "The ceremony invitation. I said I'll try. Mom is coming. Good. It matters to her." Chelsea stopped typing. "Then she'll enjoy it." "Will you come?" "I'll be there." "Thank you. Don't make this into a thing." She ended the call. By spring, boxes of gala materials filled the company office. Chelsea hired a caterer and had the cannery hall repainted. The original Harper Maritime sign was cleaned and mounted behind a temporary stage. She ordered banners with the words, "60 years of Harper leadership." Mom showed me one on her phone. "Shouldn't that say family leadership?" she asked. That would be more accurate, I told Chelsea. What did she say? That Harper means family. Mom enlarged the photograph. Then why does her name appear underneath? The smaller line read, Chelsea Harper Vaughn, president and owner. I looked at it for a while. Did you ask her about owner? She says president sounds temporary. It is temporary. Mom lowered the phone. She didn't like that when I said it. Chelsea was using the gala to settle the question in public before the paperwork settled it any other way. The bank had not committed to refinance. Dale needed the lender to believe company leadership was stable. Chelsea needed everyone in the room to see her as Dad's only successor. After the 4th of July cookout, I called Benjamin. The ceremony is later this month. Is the effective date the same day? Yes. Has the final order been issued? Not to me yet. Send it when authorized. What will Chelsea receive? A certified notice stating the voting trusteeship transferred upon official confirmation. Not ownership of the shares. Correct. Controlling trusteeship. She'll say the distinction makes it meaningless. It is not meaningless. I know. Benjamin paused. You don't sound pleased. My father tied the company to something I did without the company in mind. He knew that. How? Because he told me a person should not pursue public trust to win a family asset. I looked across my kitchen at the locked cabinet. He said that? Not in those exact words. He said if anyone chased the condition for the company, they probably wouldn't reach it. That sounds like him. I'll be prepared. The ceremony took place at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson's Ceremonial Hall. Mom arrived 40 minutes early. She wore a dark blue dress and carried a small white purse. Chelsea arrived 12 minutes before the start. She wore a gray suit and kept checking her phone. Where's Dale? Mom asked. Meeting with the bank. Today? He has a schedule, Mom. Chelsea looked around the hall. Rows of chairs faced a raised platform. Flags stood behind a lectern. Senior leaders, civilian officials, and invited guests filled the room. Her expression shifted. How many people are coming? She asked me. I didn't arrange the guest list. You said this was a command event. It is. You didn't say the Secretary of the Army would be here. You didn't ask who was officiating. Her eyes moved toward the platform. You could have mentioned it. You called it another Army thing. Mom touched Chelsea's elbow. Sit down. General Reynolds came over before the ceremony. Mrs. Harper, she said to Mom, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for inviting me. General Reynolds looked at Chelsea. Good to see you again. Chelsea recovered her business smile. You too. This will be a significant day for your family. We're very proud. I watched General Reynolds hear the sentence. She gave no sign of what she thought. I'll see you afterward, she said. Chelsea turned to me as soon as she left. What did she mean by significant? The ceremony will explain itself. You're enjoying this. No, you could have told us. I sent an invitation. That isn't the same. An aide asked everyone to take their seats. I left them and moved to the waiting area beside the platform. Secretary Joseph Navarro entered with his staff. The room quieted. I had met senior officials before. What made that morning different was seeing Mom in the front row, sitting straight with both hands on her purse. Chelsea sat beside her. Her phone was finally put away. Secretary Navarro spoke briefly about Arctic readiness. He thanked the people working in Alaska and said the visit was also an opportunity to recognize service. Then General Reynolds came to the lectern. She did not look at my family. She looked at the room. Will Vanessa Harper please join us? I walked onto the platform. Secretary Navarro shook my hand. General Reynolds asked, please state your name and years of service. Vanessa Harper. 30 years of service, ma'am. She opened the official order. The room became completely still. Attention to orders. Then she read the Department of the Army's formal language. She read the effective date. She read my 3 deployment rotations and assignments across those 30 years. Only after that did she speak the new rank. Vanessa Harper is promoted to Colonel in the United States Army. Mom covered her mouth. Chelsea didn't move. Secretary Navarro stepped forward. It is my honor to present Colonel Vanessa Harper. He removed the old insignia and pinned the silver eagles in place. The metal felt cool through the fabric. General Reynolds handed me the promotion order. Secretary Navarro shook my hand again. For 1 second, the hall remained silent. Mom rose first. Her chair made a soft scraping sound across the floor. Then the room followed. Hundreds of chairs moved almost together. Chelsea looked around and came up slowly with everyone else. I faced them. I didn't look away from my family. Mom was crying without wiping her face. Chelsea's arms hung stiff at her sides. When the moment ended, everyone sat and the ceremony continued. Afterward, people gathered near the platform. Mom reached me first. 30 years, she said. Yes. Why didn't you tell me all of it? I told you where to be. She touched one of the silver eagles with the tip of her finger. Your father would have understood this. I think he did. Chelsea waited behind her. When Mom stepped aside, Chelsea looked at my shoulders, then at the order in my hand. You embarrassed me. I kept my voice low. How? I sat there like an idiot. You were invited. You let me call it a costume. You chose those words. You knew this was coming. I knew there was a ceremony. You knew what they were going to say. Yes. Her face tightened. You could have corrected me. Would you have believed me? She looked toward Secretary Navarro. He was speaking with General Reynolds across the room. That was excessive, Chelsea said. What was? All of this. The army arranged it. Of course they did. Mom stared at her. Chelsea. What? I'm happy for her. You don't sound happy. I said I am. General Reynolds approached us. Colonel Harper, the secretary would like a photograph with your family. That was the first time anyone had addressed me by the new rank. Chelsea's eyes changed again. We took the photograph. Mom stood between us. Secretary Navarro stood on my other side. Chelsea smiled when the camera flashed. As soon as it was over, she stepped away. I have to find Dale, she said. The reception is next door, Mom told her. I can't stay. She left before the cake was cut. Benjamin received the certified order that afternoon. At 9 the next morning, he issued the trust notice. He sent it by email, certified mail and courier to every shareholder and the company's registered office. Mine arrived at my work address. The notice stated that the trust condition had been met when the Department of the Army order was formally read. Effective that moment, sole voting trusteeship of Harper Maritime's controlling shares had transferred to Colonel Vanessa Harper. Mom called me first. Is this real? Yes. Did you know? Since last fall? Did your father plan this? He signed it in 2005. She was quiet. Before any of this trouble. Yes. What are you going to do? Read everything before I decide. Chelsea called next. This notice is invalid. Benjamin disagrees. You planned this with him. No. You hid it. I learned about it last fall. And said nothing. The trust wasn't mine to announce. You let me keep running the company. You are still president. Don't play word games. I'm not. You think you own Harper Maritime now. I don't own the trust shares. I control their vote. That's ownership. It wasn't when you said it. She breathed sharply. Dale says this can be challenged. That's your choice. We have a gala in 3 weeks. 21 days. You're counting? It's on the invitation. The bank will be there. I know. You will not interfere with the refinancing. I haven't decided anything about refinancing. You don't understand the company. Then the records should help. She hung up. The anniversary gala went ahead. Chelsea did not cancel the banners. She did not remove the word owner from the program. Dale told the bank the trust notice was an administrative dispute that would not affect management. Benjamin asked me whether he should respond before the event. Not yet, I said. Rodney completed his corrected audit report and sent it to the full board. The collateral discrepancy appeared in plain language. Chelsea still invited the press. She added a line to the gala program. A new era of unified Harper ownership. 21 days after the ceremony, I entered the cannery hall in uniform. The old concrete floor had been polished. Round tables filled the space where fish crates once stood. Bank representatives sat near the front. Local reporters lined one wall. Benjamin was already near the stage with his certified trust file. Rodney sat beside Mom. Dale moved between tables, speaking quietly to the bankers. Chelsea stepped to the lectern. Her name filled the screen behind her. She thanked the employees, clients, and community. She spoke about Dad's vision and her years at the company. Then she smiled toward the cameras. Tonight, I'm proud to confirm that Harper Maritime is entering its next 60 years under my sole controlling ownership. Benjamin walked toward the lectern. Chelsea saw him and stopped smiling. He waited until she lowered the microphone. Benjamin, this isn't the time. It became the time when you made that statement. Dale moved from the banker's table. We're in the middle of a program. Benjamin opened his certified file. The program contains a material ownership claim. Chelsea kept one hand on the lectern. I am the company president. That is accurate. And controlling owner, that is not. A reporter near the wall raised her phone. Dale reached the stage. This is a disputed trust interpretation. Benjamin looked at him. You received the certified notice 20 days ago. We notified you that we objected. An objection does not suspend the deed. Chelsea looked toward me. I remained beside Mom's table. This is your revenge? She asked. No, you brought him here. You invited him. I invited our family attorney. He administers the trust. She turned back to Benjamin. You will not hijack my anniversary. Benjamin adjusted the microphone. I will read one paragraph. Then you may continue with accurate information. The room had gone quiet. He lifted the notice. On the date of the formal department of the Army order, Vanessa Harper became the first Harper descendant certified under the Senior Public Trust provision of the 2005 Harper Family Trust. Chelsea stepped away from the lectern. Benjamin continued. Under the irrevocable succession clause signed by Eugene Harper, sole voting trusteeship of all controlling shares transferred automatically to Colonel Vanessa Harper. At the moment that order was read, a camera shutter clicked, then another. Benjamin placed the notice on the lectern. This transfer has been effective for 21 days. The trust remains the legal owner of its shares. Colonel Harper holds controlling voting authority as successor trustee. One of the bankers turned to Dale. You told us the notice had no present effect. Dale kept his voice low. Our counsel disagrees with the interpretation. Benjamin said, I have received no opinion from counsel. Chelsea looked at Dale. You said they sent one. I said they were preparing one. The banker closed the folder in front of him. Our refinancing review assumed settled control. It is settled, Chelsea said. I run the company. Management and ownership were represented as unified. They are. No, I said, they aren't. Every face turned toward me. I walked to the front. Chelsea's eyes stayed on my uniform. You've made your point, she said. I haven't spoken yet. You didn't need to. I took the microphone from Benjamin. I am not removing Chelsea as president tonight. She blinked. Dale looked at the bankers. Then operations remain unchanged. No, I said. Daily operations continue. Extraordinary borrowing, asset pledges, share actions, and refinancing commitments now require proper review. Chelsea gripped the side of the lectern. You don't know how to run Harper Maritime. I know how to read its records. This company needs decisions, not committees. It needs accurate decisions. The banker opened Rodney's audit report. We also need clarification of the collateral reporting issue. Dale stepped closer. That has been corrected. Rodney spoke from Mom's table. The internal statements were corrected. The officer certification remains under review. The banker looked at him. You're the outside accountant? Yes. Did the full board approve the final collateral package before closing? No. Dale's face lost color. It approved management authority. That isn't what you certified, Rodney said. The second banker gathered her papers. We cannot complete refinancing today. Chelsea stared at her. You came here to finalize terms. We came expecting confirmation of ownership and governance. You have it. We have conflicting representations, an active trust notice, and an audit disclosure involving the existing loan. The loan is current, for now. We will discuss the maturity separately with the full board and controlling trustee. Chelsea looked at me. You did this. No. You invited the bank, the press, and the community. You put sole owner on the screen after receiving notice that it wasn't true. She looked behind her. Her name still filled the screen. Under it were the words, President and Owner. Turn that off, she told Dale. He didn't move. Dale. He reached for the laptop. The screen went black. Nobody applauded. Nobody shouted. The caterers remained beside trays of salmon and potatoes. Employees looked down at their tables. Mom held Dad's old coffee mug in both hands. She had brought it from home for the display. Chelsea stepped away from the microphone. For the first time in my life, she had no title ready to protect her. The gala ended early. The bank representatives left with Benjamin, Rodney, and me. We met the next morning in Harper Maritime's conference room. The bank did not call the loan immediately. It did refuse the refinancing package Dale had negotiated. That difference kept the company alive. We agreed to a short extension while the accountants rebuilt the reporting file. Every pledged asset was identified correctly. Every board action was matched to the actual minutes. Dale lost authority to sign financial documents. He remained a minority shareholder, but he no longer acted as the company's financial strategist. He stopped coming to the office after the independent review found he had overstated board approval to close the loan. Chelsea kept her job. That surprised her more than losing control. At our first meeting after the gala, she sat across from me with no speech and no note cards. "Why haven't you fired me?" she asked. "Because you know operations. You don't trust me." "No." "Then this makes no sense." "It makes business sense. Your authority now has limits." She looked toward Dad's desk. "You want me working for you. I want you working for Harper Maritime." "That's the same thing now." "No. That was your mistake. We added independent directors. Major loans required documented approval. Mom received every document before signing anything. Nobody brought her a loose signature page again. The company froze executive bonuses and leased unused cold storage capacity to another local shipper. We sold equipment the expansion had purchased but never needed. After several months of verified reporting, the bank extended the remaining balance under tighter terms. The payments were higher. There was no celebration. The doc stayed with the company. Rodney issued the next audit without the old collateral discrepancy. Benjamin kept the original trust deed in his office. I kept my certified copy locked at home. I did not move into Dad's office. Chelsea continued using it because that was where the president worked. One afternoon, I visited the docks for a board review. Dad's framed photograph had returned to the wall. The anniversary banner was gone. His brown work coat hung from the old hook. I touched the sleeve. Chelsea watched from the doorway. "Mom gave it back," she said. "It belongs here. I thought you'd want it." "No." She nodded. We discussed refrigeration repairs for 20 minutes. She gave me the real cost the first time I asked. That was how we worked after that. No warmth, no insults, accurate answers. Mom invited us to dinner late that fall. Dale didn't come. Chelsea arrived without flowers, folders, or a reason to leave early. She helped Mom carry stew to the table. We ate quietly. After Mom cleared the bowls, Chelsea kept turning her spoon over. Finally, she looked at me. "I owe you an apology." I waited. She swallowed. "I called your work a costume because I needed it to be one." Mom stopped near the sink. Chelsea continued. If it was real, then Dad wasn't overlooking me when he respected it. He was seeing something I refused to see. I kept my hands on the table. She looked down. I wanted the company to prove he chose me. I used Mom. I hid things from the board. I let Dale tell the bank what I wanted them to believe. That isn't all. No. She took a breath. I treated your whole life like an insult to mine. The refrigerator hummed behind us. "I'm sorry," she said. It was the first apology she'd ever given me without explaining why I had caused it. I accept the apology, I said. She looked up. I don't trust you yet. I know. You don't get control back because you apologized. I know that too. Mom placed 3 cups of coffee on the table. Nobody hugged. Chelsea and I stayed another hour. We talked about the company, Mom's leaking porch door, and the freezer she refused to replace. When I left, snow had covered the driveway. Through the kitchen window, I saw Mom washing cups while Chelsea dried them. Dad's old mug sat between them, clean and empty under the light. If this story moved you, subscribe and let me know where you are watching from.